Hey, Koby, you had talked, about last year and the 27 guys and having a difficulty maybe of being able to get some of these guys because the groundwork hadn't been done previous years. How is that different this year? And do you feel like the groundwork was maybe done a little bit last year to help you get some of these bigger names?
Yeah, Dan. Yeah, so basically, we started working on these guys even before I started with the Orioles. Like, these guys had been followed from beforehand, so we knew who they were coming in. I think we did a really good job of recruiting them once we came in. As I've mentioned before, Elias made various trips down to the Dominican and really helping us out with promoting our organization. So, these players that we got were very eager to sign with us.
John Mioli with your question for Koby.
Koby, you guys have done a lot of work in the 2 years since you've been hired. What do you think are the next steps to bringing this organization closer to the top of the list in terms of teams who are willing to spend and invest in these markets?
Yeah, I think this year we've kind of shown that we're ready to go all in. Like I've mentioned in the past, year by year it's going to be different. We just got to weigh the market, analyze what's best for the Orioles, and then make a decision. But I think we're ready. We've already put our feet in the fire down here, and we're seeing all the top guys. So we're in a good situation there.
Steve Molesky, you're up next.
Mike, how critical is international to your overall building of the pipeline you're looking to build? And in terms of the top two signees today that got seven figures, if you would do it, maybe you won't, would you hazard a guess as to where analysts might put them in your top 30?
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to credit and praise the work that Koby and his staff did in putting this group together. And it's not just the scouts that put work into forming an international class. There's a lot of work by the player development department that we have in the Dominican Republic. The medical staff plays a big role in this. There's a lot of logistics, people in the front office, Maria Ariano, and a lot of work that goes into this behind the scenes. It's a very difficult thing to put together, and then of course the support that we've gotten from our partnership group and our senior management, and the emphasis on building a Latin American pipeline has been terrific. I think that the importance of the Latin American July 2nd style international scouting has been fueled by the changes we've seen in the game of baseball the last 20 years. Younger players being able to come up and impact the game so immediately because of the quality of player development that's improved across the game, and also the quality of player development in these countries. Now they comprise about a third of the young talent or the overall talent in Major League Baseball. And I think it's arguably more of the star talent right now, or it's looking that way. So being really good in this market is essential to any team. And we had and really have some catch up to do still, but this class was a gigantic step. Starting Koby started with us in January of 2019, and because of the way that this market works, that is a pretty late start on what was going to be a 2020 July 2nd 2020 signing class, and then obviously got shifted due to coronavirus to this January. So to get two of the premier guys in the class starting that late is difficult, and Koby was opportunistic, and we're excited about these players and others in the class. And I do think we've got guys here that immediately enter the conversation for some of our top prospects, and I think it's going to be exciting to see a couple of these guys play well and then rise up the ranks. So big step for us.
Rich Dubrow with your question for Koby.
Yeah, Koby, what are your plans for this class that was just signed, and for the class of 2019, which didn't get to, which hasn't yet gotten to play? I mean, where are they going to play this year?
Yeah, so Matt Blood and his group, Ken Qualls and those guys over there, they do a fantastic job of organizing and getting these guys ready to play wherever it may be. I know we've talked about starting a camp. Obviously, with the COVID situation, that's very fluid still. But these guys are definitely ready to go, and our player development group has already basically spoken to these guys about a program in place and basically to get started on their professional careers. So we're handing them over to very good hands, and we're excited about that.
Stan Charles, you're up next with your question for Koby.
Koby, I had a kind of a two-parter. Is number one, will this July be back to the July signing period for international? And if you could talk a little bit about the difficulties this past year has presented to you in terms of being able to scout these people and develop relationships.
Yeah, so far, as you guys know, the situation is very fluid, but I think MLB is looking more toward signing the future class in January. But again, everything's still up in the air. And as far as sorry, I blanked out there. What was the follow-up question?
The follow-up question was, I know a lot of this is about relationship building down in the Dominican, Latin America, and the problems that the pandemic presented, and just simply shaking hands and getting to know people and seeing players play.
Yeah, so basically, again, a lot of the groundwork for this class right here had been done and laid. We've been working on it since back in 2019, right when Mike and I came on board. So it didn't really affect us much on as far as this class. And there was also a moment during the pandemic where we were able to come out and work and scout, although not in the normal conditions. But we were able to do work, and our whole organization from top to bottom, like Mike mentioned, has been involved in everything we do. It's been very collaborative, and we're excited, and we are continue to work every day on future classes now.
Rakubako with your question for Mike.
Mike, jumping topics for a second. Where do things stand with Santander now with his contract? Do you continue to negotiate, or do you just exchange figures and go? And is there much of a gap between the two sides?
Yeah, we have a file to go policy that I've been very consistent with since being here. I mean, it hasn't been that long, and so with us not having been able to reach an agreement today with him, which is okay. It's part of the process. This happens. We will be proceeding to arbitration.
Joe Trezza, you're up next.
Mike, well, I guess this is for Mike and Koby, but was there any anxiety brought about by the pandemic in terms of these signees, given just that there was so much extra time that you had to wait to make them official? And I guess a follow-up for Mike would be, when you got here 2 years ago and you envisioned what the international program would look like in 2 years, are you guys there, and how would you assess that?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, there's been anxiety about everything during this, and it in this context, it was it did create some anxiousness with us not being able to get these players into the organization as early as we would like, but we were able to maintain contact with them and their representatives, and sort of keep our plans in place. And I think that, we, from the sounds of it, and Koby can speak more to this, these guys have been able to get their work in, and we get consistent video from them, and they're these guys can change and improve a lot in a 6-month time period because they're so young, and it's looking like they have, we like the way that these guys are looking, so they're trending in the right direction. So that was reassuring, because it's a period of time that ordinarily they'd be in our development program, and this prevented them from doing that. And yeah, I mean, I thought that it was going to be, when we came in winter of 2018, 2019, that it was going to be difficult to put together a class with real headliners in 2020. And I think, like I said earlier, this is a tribute to the connections and experience that Koby has, that he found ways to do that with guys that, I mean, obviously we like these players with the bonuses that we're giving them, but you know, the industry and the publications for you know what that's worth, you know, recognize that these are our top players in the class as well. So that's not easy to do. And I think as we go forward here the next couple of years, we, you know, will continue the lack of activity prior will haunt us less and less as we go forward with these classes.
All right, next question from Nathan Ruiz for Mike. Go ahead, Nathan.
Hey, Mike, back to arbitration real quick. How did the 2020 season, the shortness of it, the format of it, how did that affect kind of the processes as a whole, and also specifically with the two guys you were dealing with today?
It's definitely an unknown element, and it has, it seems like across the industry from you know what we're hearing and seeing, created some extra space for people to you know, maybe not be speaking the exact same language just because of how strange the shortened season was. So I think that was to have been expected, and it's definitely a factor.
Dan Connolly, you're up next.
Yeah, this is for either Mike or Koby. Obviously, you know, this organization has, you know, kind of traded their international bonus slots in the last few years or whatever. Obviously, you can't do that this year, but it also seems like you guys spent nearly the allotted 5.89 or whatever. Can you give us an idea of how much you ended up spending, how much is left, and whether you think you can be able to use that, you know, if there are some trickle guys in the next couple months?
Yeah, so basically, you're right. We spent the majority of money up front, mostly on position players. I think we focused on players that stay in the middle of the field. And we still do have remaining money, and it's very likely that we will sign a few more guys before the signing period's over.
Next question from Steve Molesky for Koby. Go ahead, Steve.
So Koby, what happens to these guys now over the next few weeks and months? And would the plan be that all 17 would eventually this summer be playing in the DSL?
Yeah, if we have a DSL, hopefully, yeah, that's the plan. You know, our player development group can speak more to that, of where they'll play once you know, once these guys start getting into camp. But they'll all definitely be taken care of, and Felipe Rojas Jr. will, you know, is already on board with these guys, knows who they are. You know, again, it's been a collaborative issue, and everybody. You know, knows these players, they know who they are. And, you know, I guess once they get into camp, we'll figure out, you know, our player development will figure out what's best for the player.
Time for a couple more questions. Stan Charles for Mike. Go ahead.
Hey, Mike, Koby sort of answered my question when he alluded to the fact that by design, you only signed 2 pitchers. Is that because of the depth of pitching in the organization right now, or is that sort of just the way you saw the map of who you could sign and who you wanted to sign?
I think that part of that maybe was just random. Another part of it is that these players are so young, and pitchers have a much stronger tendency to evolve late in life, and it's teams overall, I think, are less oriented towards signing 16-year-old pitchers on the signing date, whereas the premium positional talent, it's a much more stable evaluation when you're watching them when they're 13, 14, 15 years old, and even those guys change a lot too. And the pitchers will really often velocity is such a huge part of it, and you don't get that that part of the picture often until they're 17 or 18. So it just leads to a lot of later, older pitcher signings in the Dominican in particular. So that's kind of an industry trend and not just something I think with our class is my analysis of that.